Hey there, Diablo fans. I wanted to talk to you guys about my take on the Meteor build. Patch 2.2.0 just came out a couple days ago, and this is one of the things I was most excited for. I put this build together a while ago, but obviously its damage output never came close to equating to the Firebird set. However, with all the hype that was around the Wizard and the new Tal's 6-piece set bonus and the Meteor boots and the Convention of the Elements ring, I was hopeful to maybe hit 1,000,000,000 damage. I thought that would be pretty damn impressive. However, I am absolutely blown away. I am seeing a wide range of damage numbers for a few variable reasons that we'll talk about. But I'd say the average crits are between 4 and 8 billion, with the lows being around 300 million, which are very infrequent, and the highest that I've seen is 21 billion. Just absolutely mind-blowing the amount of damage this thing's putting out. Now, to play devil's advocate, I don't know if this is just massive numbers creep and if other newer builds are kind of seeing the same damage numbers. But either way, it's just mind-blowing damage that this thing's doing. So my build, the way I have it set up, it is a bit different than pretty much any other multi-element Meteor build that I've seen out there, hence the reason I'm pointing this out to you. I'm running the Grand Vizier wand. The Tal's offhand, if you're not aware, as of the patch, can now roll up to 25% meteor damage, so there is a big kind of internal conflict about whether or not I should drop to a one-hander and just use the Tal's. However, I'm sticking with the Grand Vizier for right now for a couple of reasons. One is 29% damage up to a 30% damage roll ultimately still is better than even a perfectly rolled 25% damage on the offhand. Two, and more importantly, is the resource management for this build is an issue. So the Meteor cost reduction, 40 to 50%, mine being 47, is absolutely huge. Lastly, if all your skills are based off of your weapon base damage, that 4481 base damage is huge, and that may account for why I'm seeing substantially higher damage numbers than a lot of the other multi-element Meteor builds that I've seen people trying to run or put together. I am running Frostburn gloves. I'll explain why when we talk skills. Just take note of the fact that, one, they're rolled pretty well, and two, more importantly, it's a 43% chance to freeze. Now, just so you know, I don't run this as a solo play character. Wizards to me are more of a group support thing, and anytime that I do a group support character, I'm thinking in terms of crowd control effects, and buffing the team's damage. So that's why I have this, and I'll explain why. Augilled shoulders and bracers, fairly standard. The Tal's chest, Tal's head, Tal's amulet, Tal's belt, and Tal's pants to complete the set with the Ring of Royal Grandeur. Now, I did say resource management is a bit of an issue, so you can swap out the Augilled set for Reaper's Wraps. That's a personal thing. I'm sticking with this for the time being, though, because a lot of what we do is Greater Rifts and Guardians. Just anything that you can get on the Elites is obviously well worth its weight in gold. Now the new Meteor boots. These can roll a range of, 150 to 200%. They up your mob damage by 100% with meteors, and then for kind of your single point damage or 3 or less enemies, it's upped by 150 to 200%. You can see mine rolled right in the middle of that. So that's accounting for some of the wide range in the damage numbers you see. Obviously, the group damage hits are not as high as the little onesies and twosies hits. And you can roll 15% more meteor damage on them, so phenomenal. Now, the new Convention of the Elements ring, you'll see on my character there the little visual indicator of what element's up at the time, as well as right above the health bar. What this thing does is it increases your damage by a range of 150 to 200%, depending on that RNG roll, to a single element for 4 seconds. You can read that there yourself. I don't need to read it to you. Anyway, that is kind of one of the reasons that I'm thinking my crit numbers are all over the place. Trying to time exactly what is hitting when to correspond with that is well, it's just not working at all, to say the least. It's an uphill battle. So for that reason, if you're running a one-handed weapon in the offhand, I think there's a much greater argument to be made for running the focus and restraint. I think there's a bigger argument to be made for running focus and restraint. If you're not familiar with focus, gosh damn it. If you're not familiar with focus and restraint, you can see their effects there. That's 100% damage increase that's constant, vice the more sporadic, up to 200% damage. However, for the build and the way I'm running it right now, I have to have the RORG on, so that's, again, personal preference. But the focus and restraint obviously is pretty powerful, and it will work well for this if you're trying to do a one-hander build. To talk a little bit about the Tal's new set bonuses while we're here on the inventory screen. You can read the 2-set, 4-set, and 6-set bonuses on your own there. The 2-set bonus and the 6-set bonus are what's causing this build to put out so much damage. Dealing damage procs the 2-set bonus, and that's an 8-second internal cooldown. Internal cooldowns can't be affected by cooldown reduction. So those meteors are hitting pretty heavy on their own, and making sure that you proc those stacks every 8 seconds is pretty important. Now, unfortunately, 8 seconds doesn't correspond to the convention of the elements ring, which is 4 seconds, or the Tal's 6-set piece bonus, which is 6 seconds. So in any type of time consistency there, it's all over the place. Anyway, 6-set bonus, it's a bit broken right now. It increases your damage by 150% up to 600% for 4 stacks, and it refreshes the duration of stacks for each element that you put on. Now, if you watch above my health bar, I'm going to cast 1. Okay, casting a 2nd restarts the timer. Casting a 3rd restarts the timer. Casting a 4th restarts the timer. However, at this point, there is nothing I can do to restart that timer. It's going to run out regardless of what I cast. At that point, I have to restack. I believe that's broken. I hope that's something that they hot patch and fix. If that's design as intended, then that's much more argument for running the skills the way that I do, though. Alright, onto the skills. Teleport's pretty standard. Magic Missile I use simply to proc the Arcane stack. Electrocute I use as the Fire stack. It's also what I lay into if I need that resource regen quickly. Hydra I use for the Cold stack. It's also a damage output for the same reason that people love Hydras. With the Fire build, I can put it in place and relocate, and it's going to continue dealing damage. Furthermore, with the Frost Burns, it's proccing freeze, and the freeze rate's pretty high. Been pretty successful with freeze and stuff, throwing it in the middle of a mob. Magic Weapon, 20% more damage. Now, in terms of the Arcane, I would love to have squeezed Black Hole in instead. It doesn't cost resources. It is on a cooldown. However, unless I go and stack a substantial amount of cooldown, at least 25% or more, then the 8-second cooldown on it, or whatever it is, maybe it's 12 seconds. Either way, it's just not going to work with the Tal set. I tried to play with it for a while and just couldn't get it to work, so I eventually had to dump it. Now, I'm running Unwavering Will at the moment, the extra toughness, the extra damage. That'll probably come off a little bit later, but again, trying to get used to a new build. Elemental Exposure, absolutely vital. Again, dealing damage with each one of those stacks that you're already stacking anyway will increase your damage up to 20%. Cold-Blooded, again, one of the reasons I'm using the Frostburns. I think in terms of team support and group damage buff, enemies chilled or frozen take 10% more damage from all sources. That means your teammates. So by using the Frostburns and that Cold Hydra, it freezing everything, anything chilled, frozen's taking that extra damage. Now I have Prodigy on at the moment as I'm trying to get this, trying to master this build and get resource cost management a little bit more under control. Once I take that off, I'm going back to Paralysis, as lightning spells have a 15% chance to freeze. Again, team support is CC effects. Now why that's important. Meteor, the most important skill of all for the build. Alright, a lot of people who run it, Molten Impact was the favorite of fire builds for most people. However, that cooldown's just not going to allow it to work. I do have a buddy who's running a one-handed build. Using the Tal's offhand allows him to swap out his chest piece for the Cinder Coat for a little bit more fire damage and also the resource cost reduction. If that's the way you're going to run, so be it. I still think I'm putting out a lot more damage with the way I have it configured, though. Nonetheless, it is a viable argument for running the skills set up in your inventory that way. Comet, you don't see too many people running. Star Pact is another very popular choice for this build. It's an arcane meteor, and the hits are exponentially higher. However, it drains all of your resource to use it. Now, when you're trying to time with the Tal's set and that 6-piece set bonus being broken the way it is, and trying to time it to match with the Conventions ring, that's a lot of eggs to be put in one basket when you're likely going to miss, or have the potential to miss, your damage modifiers, your damage buff. So for that reason, I've chosen to go with the lightning. I can spam lightning extremely quickly. It's an instant cast, so I don't have to worry about marking a location and moving around and hoping the enemies are still there. It leaves lightning damage on the ground, and with the stun passive, with the paralysis passive, it continues to stun. So between the Zai's Stone and this passive, I have a really high rate to stun and freeze everything. And then again, the fact that I can instant cast is worth its weight in gold when trying to time the Tal set and the Convention ring. Furthermore, with all the damage modifiers that are out there for Meteor right now, I believe I get more damage out of it than the arcane one by being able to just spam it and get multiple hits in a quick time frame while that 600% damage is buffed to more than account for the slightly lesser damage than the arcane meteor. Now, I'm going to show you 2 video clips following this, both very, very short, just a few seconds each. One is T6 in it yesterday. I don't believe there's any other damage modifiers up at the time. Again, I think there's like a 300 million crit when Tal's wasn't stacked, and I missed the Convention of the Elements ring. So it shows kind of that wide range of damage. However, right after that, you'll see a 1.5 million, then a 4.5 million, then a 13 million, or 1.5 billion, 4.5 billion, and a 13 billion damage hits, all within 2 seconds of the 300 million. Just kind of shows you the Tal's effect and the ring effect. Second video clip is the mid-40s Greater Rift 4P party. I know Nephilim Glory's up at the time. And I think we have a lightning conduit. I don't know if there's any other damage modifiers, but you're going to see a just shy of a 5 billion crit, then a handful of 8, 9, 10, 12, 13 billion crits, and just shy of a 21 billion crit. So anyway, it shows you the damage potential, and the rate at which you can put damage out is absolutely phenomenal, making this build very viable, at least for the foreseeable future. So anyway, I hope it works for you guys if you decide to run it and play it. If it does, let me know it's working for you. I'll continue to improve on it as we all learn the patch and the build's a little bit better. Enjoy killing shit in-game, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Oh, yeah.